actually enable people to use search engines really well. And that gets beyond just going on the first page. That gets into smart searching. Someone said the other day, how do you best find out how to smart search on Google? Well, the answer is fairly meta, isn't it? You Google how to use Google. So if you do that, you'll find some great PDFs on using Google. Very meta, but that's one fantastic way of doing it. I think it's a life skill to help people to navigate search engines really well. And just to say as well, those boring things that appear under Google Scholar at the top, where it says cited 72 times, those things actually sometimes have some really good content in them. So don't just rely on the first page, which is often the people who've got their search engine optimization sorted out. Look at some of the scholarly articles, which can be fantastic. Second one, video content, and particularly, I'm talking about learners themselves creating fantastic video content. We've seen a number of organisations, one telecoms organisation now are actively encouraging their sales staff to create their own instructional videos, which is just fantastic. So again, we're seeing a whole rise now, and I kind of just put on YouTube here, using cell phones for learning. Do you know where some of the most innovative practice is happening around this in schools now with children? Guys, we need to wake up. We think we're at the leading edge of digital technology, sitting here in St Paul's on a day like this, and some of the most profound practice around the use of smartphones in learning is happening in schools with children now. So we need to look at where education is really being pioneered now. And some of the reason for that is the budgets are low in schools, therefore they're innovating. So don't write off the whole kind of thing of what's happening in the school workplace as well. So YouTube's creating your own videos and live streaming as well. So I don't see, I'm not sure, Skillsoft guys, whether you're live streaming here, but we're now seeing far more folks now just holding their phones up and live streaming. In fact, I went to see Royal Blood recently. Some of you may know who they are, and it does me proud of my age to go and listen to a concert like that, and he blew my ears out. But they actually encouraged everybody to live stream the event. So we're now seeing that live streaming as another way of using fantastic content. So why not think about live streaming for some of your events, getting your folks to actually do that. Okay, Periscope is going to make that wider, but there's ways of streaming in a kind of a more controlled way. Video content, learner-generated content, just cover this as well. So I just asked the question, what can your learners create for you? Many of you are in heads of learning positions or you're in organisations. Just recognise that many folks are really good at creating videos, particularly many young people as well. One organisation we're working with, I'm going to keep the names out because I haven't got permission from them. We're actually getting students now to come in and create their instructional videos. They'd recognise that students in local colleges and things who've got media studies were looking to have great projects to do. So you might even be able to get some free consultancy from people who are absolutely brilliant at generating this kind of content. Podcasts. At CIPD, we create podcasts all the time. In the last few years, we have seen our podcasts increasing in their download, which is really interesting. So some of our podcasts within the first week, maybe 8,000 or 9,000 downloads. We're trying to work out why that is, and my suspicion is that podcasts are incredibly accessible if you're on the train or if you're driving, all these kind of things. So you may want to think about how you could create some great podcasts. When I started with CIPD 4 years ago, and Laura and others probably had this, we used to go to studios, you used to go to TV studios and you'd have earphones on, there'd be big microphones. Often you go now to media centres and there's a bean bag with an iPhone. That's how this is done now. So you've actually got the opportunity with your voice memo recorder to create some significant podcasts. So some of the things you could do, you could get your CEO to do a message once a month if they're up for that. Senior managers, subject experts, all sorts of opportunities for you to do that. Curating. There was some talk early on about curating. Those of you who haven't found Harold Jarkey at jarkey.com, J-A-R-C-H-E, Harold does some fantastic stuff around curation. And as a good curator, he gives it all away free. So if you're not hooked up with Harold, you need to do that. He comes up with this model, Seek, Send, Share. And what, again, we're seeing many organisations now are actually putting curation as a key part of their programme and instructional design process. Not just finding stuff and dumping it onto a platform, most importantly, making sense for people as to why it's important for their organisation. And often we miss that sense-making part. It's not just about stuffing loads of content out there, it's about finding and sense-making as well. So again, you might think of one of your key programs, how could you curate some brilliant content which could be delivered to mobile phones? Social networks and community of practice. Turn to the person next to you and tell them a social community that you hook up with. I'm giving you a few ideas there. And of course, I put CIPD at the top, but I would. Okay, but there's some other ones there. So what social communities do you hang around in? Talk to the person next to you. Community of practice have been around for a long time. We think about how ancient people learnt practice and all those kind of things. We think about the guilds in the UK who worked as communities of practice. Do you know the coffee shop, if you've not looked at this, I'm just doing some study, the coffee shop movement in the 17th, 18th century was astonishing in terms of how communities of practice drove innovation in organisations. So now we have social tools now to connect us in, and for me Twitter is a really important one, but LinkedIn and other places. So you could set up socialised conversations around particular courses and events. Blogs and vlogs. To my shame, until about 3 years ago, I didn't know what a vlog was. I said to my daughter, as a good father would do, as she went to university, I said, would you like me to buy you a television? Because that's what my dad did when I went to university. It was very cool. I had a little... She kind of looked at me, oh, are you insane? Buy a TV? And I noticed when she came home for the first time, she was cooking for us, and she was just watching video blogs all the time as part of her socialised activities. So we now need to understand that using blogs, whether that be through WordPress, type blogs, or video blogs, are even better, that experts can share practice and expertise. So what a fantastic thing if you had a whole range of bloggers within your organisation on programs who could actually be constantly blogging out great material. Again, it's absolutely free to do this. Particularly young people are absolutely formidable on this. You may have noticed that I've noticed a trend on LinkedIn in the last month or so, lots of people doing their own piece to camera. So you notice there's all these people, and it kind of catches them in a really bad phrase. The first frame is always a little bit like kind of startle, but this kind of vlogging is a brilliant opportunity within organisations. Number 7, apps. Don't want to say too much about this, but you are probably using apps. Certainly our folks will be using apps for learning. We mentioned with Skillsoft and Gavin, it was great to hear what was going on at RBS. We've got some links for them, fantastic stuff. But your folks will be using their own learning apps. I'm using Duolingo right now to learn Spanish. So many of your folks will already be using apps for learning. So it's a real thought about how can we leverage apps not only for, for corporate stuff, but for personal stuff. And again, if you want to see a great example of that, haven't got time to go into it, but Nick Shackleton-Jones and the team at BP did a stunning piece of work around an app for their management development program. So just Google Nick Shackleton-Jones BP app, and you'll find some brilliant background about using an in-company app. Number 8, webinars. You may not be able to see this, but I just love this. This makes me feel so young. We deliver, don't laugh, that's unkind. We deliver all over the world now fantastic qualifications, and we find that people now are accessing virtual classrooms on their phones. Now, it's not brilliant in some ways, because some of the interaction isn't as good as you can't type, but now we're seeing this one here. So Tamsin Russell, I don't know who she is, but she said, love doing webinars through an app, feels so 21st century. Yes, it does indeed. Literally learning on the go at Lancaster. And the other picture there was someone how they were getting a signal, but they were actually downloading and accessing a session with us from a tube station as well. So we now need to recognise that we know about virtual classrooms and webinars, but the mobile phone allows us to access those as well. So it's not just about desk-based or laptops. We've got the opportunity to deliver those things out. Then a few really interesting things. I didn't wear it today. I've got an augmented reality t-shirt which is used to teach biology to kids in school. You'd been able to see my virtual insides, but I didn't know whether you were quite ready for that today. I didn't know what the audience was like. But we're now seeing augmented reality, particularly in terms of hoverovers. You go into museums now and you hover your phone or device and it will spark off and talk to you. So some fantastic things I found. The periodic table of videos. How boring was chemistry when I was at school? But now someone has gone and made a QR code for all of these different elements as well, and you can see star charts and all these kind of things. So without doubt, we're going to see a huge, I believe this is probably where we're going to see some fantastic things happening. Saw a really good example of IKEA in Scotland using augmented reality videos in the workplace for learning inclusion for those who had learning disabilities and difficulties. So let's just not think about one thing about this one. This could be a way in which your organisation could provide accessible learning for those who have real challenges in the workplace. Maybe little reminder videos where you can put your phone over and it just triggers off with a small reminder as to what you need to do in a given situation. So I think we should track this. Augmented reality is going to be very, very cool, and I bless you for not looking at my insides with my augmented reality t-shirt. Last but not least, number 10. Virtual reality and artificial intelligence. So we know some of the things that are going on now, really exciting around sort of VR, and you can just drop a phone into a cardboard box on the front of your face and hey, you're away. That's just my kind of technology. I love that kind of thing. But this one is really interesting. Virtual speech courses, free of charge now, available on the web. So already we're seeing some companies are now delivering free of charge virtual reality learning for public speaking. So we'll see more of that coming through chatbots as well. Really interesting with the whole chatbot. Saw a fantastic example of a university recently in Italy who are now delivering their student services through a fantastically designed chatbot and are now freeing up their staff to deliver a really good student experience. So I think we're going to see more of this, but certainly where I'm at right now, I think augmented reality is really powerful, worth looking. How can you create layovers in the workplace that can really help people with their learning?